Hey guys, welcome back. It's Neon here with more Clownfish TV. I'm going to talk to you about ESPN. Yeah, I know we're not a sports channel, but we're going to talk about ESPN and in regards to how their decision to get really political affected their bottom line, and how this trend is affecting other industries within pop culture, other industries like comics and video games and movies. And ESPN is admitting they were wrong. They were wrong. I mean, surprise, surprise, surprise. Now, before I get started with the video, please take a second to subscribe to Clownfish TV. It really helps the channel, and we appreciate all the people who've subscribed this week since we've been asking you to subscribe. We never really pushed that before, but we really do need the help in growing the channel. So, this is coming from the Hill. ESPN president: our fans do not want us to cover politics. Our fans don't want us to cover politics. The ESPN president says the network's viewers do not want it getting overly political. Without question, our data tells us our fans do not want us to cover politics. No, because if they wanted politics, they would go to one of the other umpteen news channels that cover politics. They watch ESPN because they want to watch sports. They want to get away from the real world, which is polarizing and divisive enough. They just want to kick back and watch a game, get some opinions on sports. They don't go to ESPN for political views. There are channels for that. So it said in the Los Angeles Times article published on Monday, my job is to provide clarity. I really believe that some of our talent was confused on what we expected of them. If you fast forward to today, I don't believe they are confused. After we've had a talking to our on-air talent and told them to stop getting so weirdly political on ESPN, after we saw our numbers plummet, our viewership plummet because we've alienated at least half of the country, I don't think they're confused anymore. I think they understand exactly what kind of channel we are. So, newspaper reported that the president's comments have guided commentators away from talking about politics, both on the network and on their social media accounts. So I think they're going so far as to say, guys, stop getting so freaking weird on Twitter. Now, ESPN is a Disney-owned company, right? Disney has taken a hit with ESPN. In fact, it's made headlines all over the place and has for the last year or two that ESPN has been hemorrhaging viewers, hemorrhaging subscribers since they started getting weirdly political. Just in 2018, they lost 2 million subscribers, and while that loss is substantial, it's not nearly as steep as it has been the past few years. ESPN lost 15 million subs between 2011 and 2018. It got really bad in 2017, as I understand it. So many believe the losses at ESPN since 2011 are the fault of over-politicization of the network. They got weirdly political on the network just over the past few months. Some of its discussion topics and decisions have earned backlash, including Stephen Smith saying that Tiger Woods is not black. They called Trump a white supremacist. They declined to show the national anthem before the NFL games. And this is Bob Iger coming out. So Bob Iger in September of last year, Disney CEO Bob Iger said that he believed ESPN became too political and he wanted to change that. Disney is a parent company of ESPN. Iger hired Jimmy Pitaro as ESPN's president, and Pitaro has led the shift away from politics. Iger told The Hollywood Reporter, there's been a big debate about whether ESPN should be focused more on what happens on the field of sports than what happens in terms of where sports is socially and politically. Jimmy felt that the pendulum may have swung a little too far away from the field, and I happen to believe he was right. He has brought back some balance. The added balance may have helped ESPN slow its losses. Yeah, so look, you know, there are a lot of discussions about Disney, in relation to you know, movies with Star Wars. Okay, we saw losses. Disney starting to see losses. They saw Solo took the brunt of the backlash for The Last Jedi, which people did not like because it got weirdly political, and it did Many fans, myself included, felt that it did a huge disservice to the original trilogy characters, and it also got weirdly political. And Lucasfilm employees were out there trash talking any conservatives who were Star Wars fans, and it got so bad that Chuck Wendig, who works on the Star Wars comics and novels, got fired because he was out there bad-mouthing Republicans on Twitter daily, day in, day out. So it seems to me that Disney is starting to wise up, and they're starting to rein their people in. Now, comics, if they could just rein in comics, the comic book industry might be in a better place. This article last year, coming from New Statesman America, talks about, again, this is this really, shitty attack on comic book fans. Look, in the last year or so, any comic book fans who feel that the comic books have gotten weirdly political, while comics have always been political and they've always leaned left, the creators have gotten caustic on social media. The comics themselves have gotten even more political than they've been. And, there is an outright disdain for conservative readers. I mean, most creators are not even hiding it. I'm not even a conservative, and I can see it. I mean, they're out there bad-mouthing conservatives every day. The result of this, morphed into the Comicsgate situation, but then, I think some favors were called in to friends who worked on different blogs, different pop culture outlets, and they started bad-mouthing anybody who even remotely agreed with Comicsgate. This article, last year, talking about the online right. I'm not even right. The online right wants politics out of comics, but they have always been bastions of liberal thinking. I agree, but not to the extent that they had been the last couple of years, and certainly, the creators were not out there constantly attacking conservative voices constantly on Twitter. And this down here, they're talking about Comicsgate using the standard harassment toolkit, including doxing, and orchestrated abuse to bully creators, especially young women, who have the audacity to promote diversity and social awareness in superhero comic books. Scratch the surface of their concern for narrative consistency, and pure bigotry seeps out. No, that's not what's actually going on. The comic book fans are like the ESPN fans, the ESPN viewers. Right now, I'm not going to say that there aren't people out there who use this movement for nefarious purposes to promote their own bigotry or bias or whatever. I mean, if they were shitty people to begin with, they're just using a hashtag or a movement to continue their shittiness. And there are shitty people on the left and there are shitty people on the right. Sometimes people switch sides just to be shitty to whichever audience will cater to them. But in this case, to paint all disgruntled comic book fans as a bunch of horrible bigots, and this is just one of many, 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 many articles, you didn't see this really with ESPN. I mean, really, the numbers just kind of spoke for themselves. And I think the numbers are speaking for themselves in comics, too. It's just there's a lot of fudging of numbers now as these publishers try to kind of justify their existence. So I have to wonder if Bob Iger's putting the kibosh on the politics at ESPN, if he isn't going to take a look at Marvel Comics. And we've already seen Chuck Wendig got fired because he was out there constantly bad-mouthing all Republicans. Now, I do believe you are allowed to express your political opinions on Twitter. I don't think there's any problem with that. Where the problem arises is when you're attacking large groups of people, making broad assumptions about large groups of people, and making really shitty assumptions about large groups of people. And, I think that kind of falls under Twitter hate speech rules, doesn't it? I don't know. But I think you're going to see a change at Marvel. And the change might not be one that comic fans want. I personally, being a Disney watcher, being familiar with a lot of people at the Walt Disney Company, I think Marvel Comics as a comic book publisher is living on borrowed time. I really do think that they will shut Marvel down as a comic book publisher and probably just outsource most of the comic books. It's just, especially now with them buying Fox And, you know, now they're going after Hulu, and Disney is just spending, and they're going to look for some corners to cut. And frankly, you know, Marvel Comics would be a very easy cut for them, because most people don't care about most people don't care about the comic books. People love Spider-Man, they love Captain America, they love Iron Man, but they love these characters in the movies. They love animated versions of these characters. They like these characters on their lunchboxes and their pajamas. And you don't need a comic book publisher to push Spider-Man merchandise. You really don't. And that's kind of what Disney, I think, is going to look at. Being as big as they are and looking at the margins like they do, I think Marvel's going to be an easy cut. And what's going to happen is, you know, if these comic book editors and creators, you know, are constantly out there on Twitter making a lot of noise, causing a lot of problems, generating negative headlines, you know, you're going to see Disney step in and just be like, yeah, we're putting the kibosh on this. We've guided commentators away from talking about politics, both on the network and on their social media accounts. I can totally see Marvel doing this. I can see Lucasfilm doing this. I can see them being like, yeah, we need to retain customers or there's no money. If there's no money, there's no company, you know, and there's no company, there are no jobs for you. And I think a lot of these personalities, a lot of the on-air talent, a lot of the comic book creators, editors don't seem to realize that if the company is not generating any revenue, there are no jobs generated, including their own. So, you know, if you want to keep talking and put yourself out of work and put your friends out of work, keep it up. You know, keep it up. Or we could, you know, swing the pendulum back to center and just focus on doing what you're supposed to do, which is comment on sports, just sports, comment on, or, you know, talk about comic books, the comic book industry, right? Make good Star Wars movies that appeal to a broad audience and get as many people as possible into the theater, and keep your damn mouth shut about the politics. There's a time and a place for that, and it's not using another platform like this to push your beliefs. So really interesting turn of events here, and I think this is Disney just trying to stop hemorrhaging money. They want to stop hemorrhaging money, and ESPN has been bleeding out for quite some time. So please subscribe to Clownfish TV for more pop culture news, views, rants, gaming videos, art videos, and more. This has been Neon. I'll talk to you later. Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe. Ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.